Life is only a long and bitter suicide, and faith alone can transform this suicide into a sacrifice. In any great organization, it is far, far safer to be wrong with the majority than to be right alone. The perfection of Christian character depends wholly upon the grace and strength found alone in. Between 1910 and 1950, approximately 350 lives of Jesus were published in the English language alone. True thoughts are those alone which do not understand themselves. True thoughts are those alone which do not understand themselves. They are all gone into the world of light, and I alone sit lingering here. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore we are saved by love. I never did anything alone. Whatever was accomplished in this country was accomplished collectively. The object of oratory alone, and not truth, but persuasion. No one can arrive from being talented alone. Work transforms talent into genius. Man cannot live by incompetence alone. Justice cannot be for one side alone, but must be for both. When I'm alone, I can sleep crossways in bed without an argument. All men's misfortunes spring from their hatred of being alone. I would rather be a beggar and single than a queen and married. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. I would rather be alone and a loud voice for action than be silent. I'm never less at leisure than when at leisure, or less alone than when alone. Self-reverence, self-knowledge, self-control, these three alone lead one to sovereign power. I would like that no citizen of the state feels alone and helpless. The entire nation is with them. It's amazing living alone. I'm very lucky. It's like a refuge. I have nothing to hide in art. The initial force alone can bring anyone to the end he must attain. Change alone is eternal, perpetual, immortal.
He travels the fastest who travels alone.
On stage I make love to 25,000 people, and then I go home alone. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. As I get older, I'm more and more comfortable being alone. When so many are lonely as seem to be lonely, it would be inexcusably selfish to be lonely alone. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self. I only go out to get me a fresh appetite for being alone. It is better to be alone than in bad company. Is he alone who has courage on his right hand and faith on his left hand? He alone loves the Creator perfectly, who manifests a pure love for his neighbor. I like to read books and be alone. I'm not social butterfly person. I'm sorry. Remember, man does not live on bread alone. Sometimes he needs a little buttering up. Living alone makes it harder to find someone to blame. Solitude vivifies, isolation kills. If you are lonely when you're alone, you are in bad company. Pray that your loneliness may spur you into finding something to live for, great enough to die for. I may climb perhaps to no great heights, but I will climb alone. All men's miseries derive from not being able to sit in a quiet room alone. Using simple equipment and daylight alone is for me a pleasure and a replenishment. Unless we love and are loved, each of us is alone. Each of us is deeply lonely. Being alone is very difficult. In the absence of any other proof, the thumb alone would convince me of God's existence. The best of artists has no conception that The marble alone does not contain within itself. You need a whole community to raise a child. I have raised 2 children alone. You aren't going to leave me alone, are you? Virtue is not left to stand alone. He who practices it will have neighbors. If Galileo had said in verse that the world moved, the Inquisition might have let him alone. As a body everyone is single, as a soul never. Remember that the revolution is what is important, and each one of us alone is worth nothing. Let me alone and go in search of someone else. Schizophrenia beats dining alone. Marriage is good for those who are afraid to sleep alone. At night, man cannot live by bread alone. He must have peanut butter. When the people you love are gone, you're alone. Blood alone moves the wheels of history. Freedom of being alone is intoxicating. I never have tantrums. If anything makes me mad, I'm silent. If I'm not talking, leave me alone. I don't like being alone. We learn about life not from pluses alone, but from minuses as well. Grant that I may not pray alone with the mouth. Help me that I may pray from the depths of my heart. Thank you for leaving us alone, but giving us enough attention to boost our egos. One travels more usefully when alone because he reflects more. It's better to be healthy alone and sick with someone else. The people and the people alone are the motive force in the making of world history. Rigid, the skeleton of habit alone upholds the human frame. Don't go away, I don't want to be alone. I can't stand being alone. You're only lonely if you're not there for you. The longer one is alone, the easier it is to hear the song of the earth. You only grow when you are alone. Every man must do to things alone. He must do his own believing and his own dying. Moon, I am prone before you. Pity me and drench me in loneliness. I think it's interesting that cologne rhymes with alone. For an adult, eating alone at McDonald's is admitting a kind of defeat. It is error alone which needs the support of government. Truth can stand by itself. No dream is ever chased alone. I feel so good after a workout. Any time you can be alone with yourself is really important. It's time to end the cruel slaughter of whales and leave these magnificent creatures alone. A dream you dream alone is only a dream you dream. Together is reality. Words and pictures can work together to communicate more powerfully than either alone. I paint self-portraits because I'm so often alone, because I'm the person I know best. I don't want to be alone. I want to be left alone. I want to be with those who know secret things, or else alone. Don't let the past steal your present. This is the message of Christmas. We are never alone. What a lovely surprise to finally discover how lonely being alone can be. Only the lonely know the way I feel tonight. Life could be wonderful if people would leave you alone. I have so many different personalities in me, and I still feel lonely. It's better to be unhappy alone than unhappy with someone. So far, I'm learning a lot about myself being alone and doing what I'm doing. To go out with the setting sun on an empty beach is to truly embrace your solitude. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. I restore myself when I'm alone. It is far better to be alone than to be in bad company. Loneliness expresses the pain of being alone, and solitude expresses the glory of being alone. Eagles commonly fly alone. They are crows, daws, and starlings that flock together. Loneliness adds beauty to life. It puts a special burn on sunsets and makes night air smell better. The time you feel lonely is the time you most need to be by yourself. The soul that sees beauty may sometimes walk alone. When everything is lonely, I can be my best friend. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Snore and you sleep alone. The doer alone learn ETH. Walking with a friend in the dark is better than walking alone in the light.